Man, I'll tell you what, nobody does a first day of free agency quite like the NFL. Before we get into today's video, guys, I just want to give a special shout out to today's sponsors, starting with Goldfine and Bowles, lawyers for the injured. Personal injury, workers' compensation, those are their two things, but any sort of legal advice, they're the people to call. Give them a phone call, 309-673-5144. Tell them we sent you, okay? And I'd also like to shout out SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video as well. Use promo code PlaybookSports on their website to get $20 off your first purchase of $30 or more. Let's get back to the video. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports podcast, and welcome to free agency in the NFL. The legal tampering period started today at 11 o'clock Central Time, so 11 o'clock for me, and already huge names flying out off the board just like that. And I want to just go through these, look at the signings, give my first initial thoughts on them. You may not like what I have to say about what maybe your team did. Maybe you think he's absolutely right, but we'll find out. So let's start with the big one. Kirk Cousins leaving the Minnesota Vikings to go to Atlanta. 4 years, $180 million. Now, I like this. I give this one an A. This is my highest grade for the day, I believe. And I'm only doing a few, right? I'm not talking about everybody who signed. There's going to be good value signings. These are just kind of the bigger price guys that signed today. And I like Kirk. I really do. But I just can't ignore the fact that Atlanta wouldn't pay Lamar Jackson this money last year. I just can't get over that. I don't think I'll ever get over that. However, when you take away last year, take that away and just look at this year, this offseason, I like the signing for Atlanta. Finally, they have a quarterback who will distribute the ball to their playmakers. Their offense should be a ton better without Arthur Smith hamstringing the studs. I mean, Kirk chose to go play with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts over TJ Hockenson, Justin Jefferson. That's kind of surprising to me. I wonder what Minnesota was offering, what their plan was, because now they do not have a quarterback. But that's irrelevant. Kirk Cousins to Atlanta, that's an A for me. 4 years, $180 million. I don't hate the money. He earned it. Yeah, he's coming off an Achilles injury, which is a little bit scary, but he's never been a scrambling guy, so we'll see how his throwing motion looks coming off the injury, but I think he's going to be just fine. I think that Atlanta team's a little bit scarier in the NFC now, and I'd be watching out. So, A for Kirk to Atlanta. Next up, I'm going to talk about my two boys. This hurt me. This was painful, but it's less painful because of how much they got. And I'm going to start with big Christian Wilkins. I predicted he'd get like 4 years, $90 million, something around there, because that was the going rate. That is how much guys like Dexter Lawrence was getting. Guys like Quinnen Williams, both of which I think are better overall players than Christian Wilkins. Love Christian Wilkins to absolute death, by the way. But 4 years, $110 million, 27.5 annually for Christian Wilkins is crazy money. That is crazy, crazy money for a run-stuffing defensive tackle. He's not going to get a ton of sacks. He had 9 this past year, which was his career high. He benefited from playing along a defensive line with guys like Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Zach Sealer. Ton of stack potential on that defense. And, I mean, the Dolphins broke their franchise record for most sacks in a season. Yeah, Wilkins was a huge part of that with 9. And again, I cannot stress this enough. I love me some Christian Wilkins. Wanted him back. I would have been so pissed if we paid him $27.5 million, guys. You cannot pay him that kind of money. That's crazy money. The Raiders had it to spend, and I respect they needed a D-tackle. I frequently saw them having mocked Byron Young or Jerzon Newton in the first round. Now they can take that off and just go with a different position because they have filled that with Christian Wilkins, who is an absolute monster. I cannot stress that enough. Love Christian Wilkins. Don't like the cost. I do not like $27.5 million a year for Big Wilk. I give this one a C+ grade because Wilkins is a stud. But man, that is a hefty, hefty price to pay for Christian Wilkins. And then I got another hefty, hefty price that was paid. Robert Hunt to Carolina. 5 years, $100 million. Woo-wee! And when we talk about something else the Panthers did later in this video, it makes it look that much crazier. $20 million a year for Robert Hunt. Wow. He's a very good right guard. Big boy. Absolute stud. Love me some Robert Hunt. Great pick by the Dolphins back in 2020 in the second round. And again, if the Dolphins paid him $20 million, I would have been pissed. That is way too much money for a guard. Way too much money for a guard that isn't Zach Martin elite caliber. Robert Hunt is a very, very good guard. He is not an elite top 5 guard. He just isn't. And $20 million for a guard when your roster is low on talent in Carolina, low on talent, and you're going to put $20 million into a right guard. I don't know about that. I just don't know about that. I'm sorry. I'm giving that grade a C. I'm giving it a C. Again, love Robert Hunt. Super talented guy. I would not, as a Dolphins fan, been happy at all if we paid him $20 million. You don't do it for guards. You just don't do it. It's not a premium position. Not long ago, that would be like 5 for $100 for the top one of the top receivers in the league. That was a good contract. This is an offensive guard. I know the cap has changed. I don't care. I cannot justify $20 million a year for a guard. Oh my God, that just seems crazy to me. Especially when you look at what they did with Brian Burns. I'm just going to talk about it now. I wasn't going to talk about it until the end. I'm going to talk about it right now. They did not get a first-round pick for Brian Burns. They had on the table 2 years ago from the Rams 2 firsts and a second for Brian Burns. And all they get from the New York Giants is number 39 in this year's draft and a 5th-round pick next year for one of the best pass rushers in the league, only 25 years old, who they drafted. And they are just like, nah. Sorry, buddy, we can't pay you $150 over 5, which is what the Giants gave him. And it's not like the Giants are some great contending team. They're picking 6th. It's not like they're world beaters, so it's not like he's like, I'm going ring chasing. No, he just got an offer he likes at $30 million a year. And you're telling me the Panthers couldn't pony up? Why? Because they're paying Robert Hunt $20 a year? For an extra $10 a year, you could have had an elite pass rusher. That is a premium position. And they didn't do it. And they don't get much in return. That's bad. 39, yeah, maybe you take a wide receiver. That could be good, maybe. Brian Burns is one of the best pass rushers in the league, and you gave him up for nothing. And the Giants gave him the contract he wanted, which, in comparison to the contract you just gave a guard, is not that crazy of a contract. For the trade, I'm giving the Giants an A+, because hell yeah. Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns together for the foreseeable future? Thank you very much. And for Carolina, they get a D. This is, I don't know what they're doing. Look at the talent they've traded and what have they gotten for it. DJ Moore, Brian Burns, Christian McCaffrey, all Panthers, all gone. All gone. And they gave up the farm for Bryce Young, who maybe could be the guy, maybe. Didn't look like it this year. He's going to need weapons. Would be great if they had a first-round pick, but they don't because they gave it away. It's number 1 overall. I mean, I don't know. That is just not good business from the Carolina Panthers. If you're a Panthers fan, man, I am sorry because you have given up everything, and there's nothing to show for it currently. Absolutely nothing to show for this, and that sucks. That sucks. So, yeah, a D for Carolina on that trade. Let's get back to the free agents. Next up, I want to talk about Jonathan Grenard, the edge rusher out of Houston, signing with Minnesota, 4 years, $76 million. I'm going to stick to what I wrote down. I put a C for this one also. 4 for 76 for Jonathan Grenard when you've got Danielle Hunter, a free agent who just had 17 and a half sacks on the year, and you haven't re-signed him. I'm sure he'd have taken 4 over 7 for 76. Jonathan Grenard is solid, not spectacular. And yeah, 4 for 76 isn't crazy money in this market. I get that. But man, I feel like they maybe should have allocated that money to another edge rusher who will probably be leaving town. That's just me. So the signing itself is smart. They need an edge rusher. But I don't know why they're paying that edge rusher. I guess maybe, I don't know. I don't know what Danielle Hunter wants. If Danielle Hunter comes out and gets $25 million a year, all right, they did good. Jonathan Grenard is a good player. I don't want that to take away from this. But it's like, wow, you're going to spend all that money on him? Really? Okay, fair enough. So I trust Brian Flores building a defense. I really do. The guy can coach up a mean defense. So who knows? Maybe Jonathan Grenard will come out and have 17 and a half sacks next year, and I'll look stupid, and he'll be a bargain. But right now, as it stands, I don't love it. So it's a C for me. Next up, another edge rusher here, Bryce Huff, former Jet, officially I think the highest paid undrafted free agent of all time with this contract. 3 years, $51 million to the Eagles. I'm giving this one a B-. I don't really have a ton of strong feelings about this one. He was very solid for the Jets. Just feels like the Eagles didn't really need an edge rusher. I just don't know about that. They're letting Hassan Reddick look for a trade. Why not just keep Hassan Reddick? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going on inside that building. I don't hate it. I give it, like I said, a B-, not terrible. Just doesn't really move the needle a ton for me. Let's see. Who I want to talk about next. Next up, let's talk about Xavier McKinney to Green Bay. Love it. Absolutely love it. A- for this one. 4 years, $68 million. 25-year-old safety. One of the more coveted safeties available when Antoine Winfield and Kyle Duggar were both tagged. Xavier McKinney coming off a very healthy season, very strong season. And Green Bay needed it. Both of their safeties are currently free agents, so they had to do something, and they had the money, and they went and got one of the best free agent safeties outside of maybe Justin Simmons on the market. So I love that signing. A-. Another signing I really liked was Frankie Louvu to Washington. 3 years, $36 million, $12 million a year. I give that one a solid A. I really like that signing. Louvu coming off of a 100-plus tackle season for Carolina. Washington does not have a middle linebacker worth a damn. He comes in day one starter for Washington. Really like that signing. Jordan Brooks signing with your Miami Dolphins. 3 years, $30 million. This was just necessary. You cannot go into the year with just David Long Jr. and Duke Riley as your starting two middle linebackers in a 3-4 defense. That will not end well. Jordan Brooks, young, coming off of another. He's had 3 straight 100 tackle seasons outside of his one injury year. Great signing. 3 years, $30 million. That's cheap. $10 million a year. You saved money by cutting Jerome Baker, and then you bring in Jordan Brooks to start right alongside of David Long Jr., just a couple of tackle machines. I really like that signing for Miami. I like what that kind of does for the defense. Now we have to figure out other things because we've got a ton of holes as all of our top free agents walked so far. But Jordan Brooks is a good piece to bring in. So I like that signing. I give that one a solid B. Let's see. And then last one before I get to all of the running backs, Gabe Davis to Jacksonville. Nope. I don't like this one. 3 years, $39 million, $13 million a year for Gabe Davis. I get it. Oh, look at the playoff game against the Chiefs, man. He was so good. He was dominant. Last year, Gabe Davis had 4 games where he went over 50 yards. It's not like Stephon Diggs was lighting it up. Who's Josh Allen throwing the ball to if it's not Diggs or Gabriel Davis? Why is he not getting the ball? 4 games over 50 yards. He had 5 games with literally 0 yards in them. You're going to pay him nearly $1 million a game. And half of those games, he's going to get nothing. Literally not going to catch a single pass. That sucks. That is not a good signing in my opinion. They should have used that money on like Calvin Ridley, who now that they could re-sign since he's a free agent, I think it would only cost them a 3rd-round pick. I don't know how that trade works. If they re-signed him before free agency, they owed a 2nd to Atlanta. But now that it's in free agency, they can bring back Calvin Ridley just paying him, and they don't owe a single draft pick. I don't know. Either way, I would have used this money elsewhere. I would not have been paying Gabe Davis $13 a year for what maybe he could be great. You don't pay maybe great $13 million a year when 5 games of this past season with Josh Allen at quarterback and Stephon Diggs being lackluster and commanding all the attention, he did literally nothing. So I don't love that one. I'm giving it C-. C- grade for that one. Now let's talk about these running backs. Again, I'm not talking about everybody because a lot of signings happened, and technically the league year hasn't even started yet, so these no pen to paper until Wednesday. But a lot of running back movement. I'm going to start off with my favorite one. That's Josh Jacobs to Green Bay. Also, quick little pat on the back. I said Green Bay, and if you haven't seen my Green Bay Fix Your Franchise video yet, I said Green Bay needed to cut 3 players. David Bakhtiari, check. Aaron Jones, check. And Devondre Campbell, check. Told you all. That's what they needed to do, and they did it. They signed Josh Jacobs, 4 years, $48 million. He's still a stud. I like this signing. I'm giving this one a solid B. He's a power running back. A.J. Dillon's a free agent. They cut Aaron Jones. They're going to need a speedy back that they can draft in the late rounds, go just strictly on speed, and Josh Jacobs is just going to be their bell cow back with Jordan Love. I really like that signing for them. $12 million a year is not that crazy to pay. Big fan of this one. Yeah, I can't say it enough. I like that one a lot. Next up, Saquon Barkley to Philly. 3 years, $37.5 million, up to $46.75 million with certain incentives hit. I don't know those incentives. I don't know what the odds are of him hitting them, but this could be 3 years, $47 million. That is rich. That's about $16 a year if that's what he hits. But just at base, we're talking, 12? About the same as, a little over 12. A little bit over 12 for him. So similar to the Josh Jacobs, I don't know why the Giants let him go. Philly snatches one, but I don't know if I'm Philly, if I'm spending my resources there, right? I mean, Jalen Hurts is still going to have all of the rushing touchdowns in the goal line. They're still not going to turn around and give the ball off because Jalen Hurts is a cheat code, and they just do the tush push and shove him in the end zone. He's still going to have all of the rushing touchdowns, and DeAndre Swift was quicker. I would have rather kept DeAndre Swift at 3 for 24 like the Bears got than pay Saquon Barkley all this money because the Eagles are not a run-first team. They are not a run-first with your running back team. So I give this one a B-. No, C+. C+ for this one, a B for Josh Jacobs, C+ for Barkley. Could be a stud, could be a great pickup behind that offensive line. I guess we'll see. But I'm kind of lukewarm on this one. Next up, we've got Austin Eckler to Washington, 2 years, $11.4 million. Not a big needle-moving one. Antonio Gibson has obviously walked to the Patriots, which Colin said they should do. Good call, Chiefs, in the Patriots Fixing Your Franchise video. Check it out if you haven't already. But Austin Eckler obviously lost a step last year. He's not the same guy he was a few years ago, but 2 years, $11 million is cheap. That's nothing to go along with whatever quarterback they draft with their second overall pick. He's still very good at catching passes. He'll be a great check down option for that rookie QB. So I don't hate it. It's just nothing special. I give this one a C+ as well. And then last but not least for today's video, I want to talk about Tony Pollard to Tennessee. I don't like this fit. I do not like this fit. They have Tony Pollard. His name's Tyjae Spears. They didn't need him. I don't really understand this one. I give this one a solid C. 3 for 24. They have the cap space, $8 million a year. Tony Pollard just didn't take off in Dallas this year like I thought he would. Rico Dowdle kind of stole a lot of the touches from him. So I just don't know about this one. Like I said, 8 a year for Pollard isn't bad, but in Tennessee behind a very suspect offensive line as it stands today, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. You already have a guy just like this. Why not just roll him out there and draft the running back? It's pretty easy to do that. So that's what I've got for you guys on the first day of the legal tampering period in the NFL. No one does it like the NFL. No one watches drafts like the NFL draft. No one starts free agency like NFL starts free agency. No one does anything like the NFL does it. They're king for a reason. And I mean, how often were we all looking at our phones waiting for updates all day today? I know I was, even while I was trying to get some work done. But that's all I've got for day one. We'll be back tomorrow with some day two signings and maybe go more in depth in some of these signings from day one as well. Make sure you guys check out all the other videos on the channel. We've got mock drafts all over the place. We've got our draft marathon coming up in a month and a half. Cannot wait for that one. You're gonna want to be there. We'll be doing giveaways. We'll be live for the entire draft, 15 minutes before it starts until after it's over. So you will not want to miss that one. Will not want to miss that one. 6:45 the night of the draft. But thanks for stopping in. If you're not subscribed, hit that red button, smash the like, and we'll see you guys in the next one.